All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Devin Zingler. I'm the program manager at NGO CSW New York. I'm also one of our co-chairs of our Youth Leaders and Young Professionals program. I also manage most of the NGO CSW Forum planning and the virtual portal. So I will be leading our training today. Just a few things to keep in mind. We are recording this session and we will be disseminating the recording along with the slides that I'll be sharing and all of the resources and links and all of that we're sharing throughout the session. It will be uploaded on our YouTube channel, as well as sent to our mailing list and uploaded on social media as well. I will go over our agenda for today. So essentially, I'm just going to do an overview of using the portal a little bit, just generally. And then also all of the important information that y'all need as parallel event organizers about the portal, but also about just organizing a session in general. I will go over information for in-person events as well as virtual ones. But all parallel events, whether they're in-person or virtual, will be on the virtual portal. So even if you're only hosting an in-person event, please pay attention to that section because you will still be managing your event page on the portal, even if you have an in-person event. We'll share some other resources for you as well. And then we will have a Q&A session at the end of my little presentation. So feel free to put questions in the chat throughout the session. And my teammates will do the best they can to answer. But we will also have that Q&A session at the end. So save any spoken questions until then. Yeah, so I think that covers my little introduction, and I will pass it over to Hootie, who is our chair. She's just gonna say hi. Hootie, over to you.
Thanks, Devin, for giving me a minute or two to welcome our amazing members, but I cannot start my comments before I give a huge applause to Devin and her team. I know you all have been emailing them and they are so on top of everything. I'm so grateful for our team, their patience, their knowledge, their commitment to our cause, which is to have an inclusive, intersectional, feminist forum and really make sure that anybody who needs to be heard in the UN Commission on the Status of Women, we provide the opportunity. Now, I know that some of you might be anxious because this is actually our first hybrid event. I have to admit, I'm as anxious as you are because we do want to make sure that we do this right and that we all walk away feeling like we've been heard and we made a difference. I can tell you this, I'm very excited on how the UN and actually the Bureau is organizing for the CSW. I have really high hopes, despite the fact that this world is really an unsafe place right now with wars and pillaging and all kinds of negative news. We as women, feminist advocates, we want to keep our focus on trying to improve as much as possible. As you all know, we have accepted about 350 in-person events and over 400 virtual events. This is more than we've ever even imagined. And people tell me, why are we having so many events? It's too many. And I always say, would you like to withdraw your event? The reason we accept them, we accept the ones that are amazing and wonderful and inspiring. And that's how many inspiring applications we got. We only denied those organizations who are disruptors. We have had only 1 or 2, I think 3 all together that we denied. So it is an inclusive process. And I just want to thank you all. The last thing I want to say is that years ago, for those of you who have been around, we used to have local planning committee and we all felt like we were part of the forum. And it feels like we have a global planning committee right now. You're all part of our forum. And I thank you all for your participation. Please be patient with yourselves and my team in getting ready and learning on how to manage the platform. I will be here throughout the 90 minutes to answer questions. Thank you again. Please mute yourselves, yes, and then we'll talk later after the presentations. Thank you, Devin, Ali, and Michaela again for all that you're doing behind the scenes.
Thank you so much, Hootie. Yeah, you did say something that I was going to comment on, but now I don't remember. So anyway, I will be, at this point, I'm just going to do a quick overview of the virtual portal. I'll walk us through the main pages and stuff. And then I'll get a little bit more into how you as parallel event organizers will navigate the portal, how you'll edit your event page, etc. So I am going to share my screen. Let's see. Okay. Okay, everyone can see my screen, right? Okay, cool. So this is the virtual portal homepage. So actually, right off the bat, I will urge all of you to register for the forum and log into this virtual portal. If you haven't already, as soon as you can, one of my teammates will put the link to registration in the chat. You'll register, it will send you a confirmation email with a link in that email to access this virtual portal. So if you haven't already and you want to do that now so you can kind of follow along as I'm going through it, please feel free. It is really important for y'all as parallel event organizers to be registered and on the portal in order for us to assign you to your event page. And also you'll want to be able to explore and engage with participants and all of that. So definitely make sure you are on the portal if you aren't already. Also, a quick reminder to just please keep yourself muted. Like I said before, we have almost 400 people on this call. So we just want to be respectful of everyone's time here and get through as much as we can and everyone's questions and all of that. So welcome to the portal. Here it is. Here's the homepage. So this portal is very intuitive. It's very user friendly. This is a new portal that we're using. If this is not your first time and you joined us last year or the year before, I hope that you will enjoy this one a little bit more. We heard your guys's feedback on the previous portal, and we also had some frustrations there as well. But with that being said, and as Hootie mentioned, this is the first time that we're doing a hybrid format, and 2, we're using this portal. So there are some things that we are kind of learning as we go and learning with y'all. So like Hootie said, please be a little bit patient with us as we embark on this new journey that we're going on this year. So that being said, I'll go through the portal. So the homepage, pretty basic. We have an activity feed here where you can see what participants are doing. We have a community board, which I'll show you in a minute, and that's what most of this activity is. The agenda will be the most important part of the portal, especially for y'all as parallel event organizers. So also, quick disclaimer, we are currently, literally right now, in the process of uploading all of the in-person events. So right now you'll see that all of the virtual, or at least most of the virtual parallel events are here. So if you're hosting an in-person event and you don't see your event or any in-person events, don't panic. We're literally uploading them as we speak. So the agenda also pretty straightforward. It's listed by day. So on Sunday, we have our consultation day. All of the sessions, they are labeled. So you'll be able to see which ones are virtual parallel events, which one are in person. You can see the NGO CSW New York events. And you can actually filter by these tracks. There will be a in-person parallel event once those are uploaded. So if you want to specifically look for any of these categories, you can filter that way. And you can also search for the session as well. So on the agenda, you can add to my agenda, which is essentially the schedule of events that you're planning on going to, and also your event, your parallel event that you are assigned to as a speaker will automatically be in your My Agenda. So this one is also sorted by date, so you can also see all of those. So as you're going through the agenda, you can add My Agenda and it'll go right there. And then I'll also give you this option to add it to your personal calendar. So Google, Outlook, Apple. So that makes it easy as well. When we click on the session, this is kind of what it looks like. You'll add a description. The speaker will be here. And when I say speaker, that isn't necessarily the speakers who are presenting at your event, but it essentially just means the organizers, the people who are assigned to your event page, who have access to edit it. Obviously this is myself, so I can't send myself a message, but usually people would be able to send them a message right in the portal, and you can also view their profile, which everyone can add all of this information themselves and whatever information you want to add. Yeah, people can like the session, add to My Agenda. They can take notes a little bit if you're in a session and you want to take notes and have them attached directly to the session in the portal. You can do so there. And I'll also show you what it looks like when there's a actual link attached. So I'll talk about this more in detail in a little bit, but this is what it'll look like when you have, so for example, virtual parallel events will all pretty much look like this. This essentially is the link for your virtual event. So once it's actually time for the event, as you can see now, it's not until, March 5th. So this is what it'll look like when it's actually happening, and you'll have the option to either stream it directly on this screen in the portal or join in Zoom, and your Zoom app will open and it'll be just like a regular Zoom meeting like we're in right now. Yeah, so that's an overview of the agenda. You can also see all of the attendees. You can bookmark people, view the profile, send them a message. You can search for them. And then also the portal has a cool little recommended page where it will give you recommendations based on the information on your profile. So other people in New York, other people who work at NGO CSW, people who went to the same college as me, people who have the same interests. And then you can also sort by category. So those are the attendees. The community board, there are all these different topics. So for example, break the ice might be a good place to start, where you're just introducing yourself and you can see everyone else. If you click here to literally break the ice, you can see the person's introduction. So there are lots of different topics that you can join and discuss. This particular board is to ask us any questions if you have any, and we will be monitoring this and replying there. Messages I won't open because I do have some messages from people and I don't want to make that public, but this is where messages will show up for people who message you, or if you message other people, that's where that is. Photos, you can upload photos, during the forum. If you're taking photos in person and meeting people, this would be a fun place to kind of collect those photos. We have exhibitors and sponsors. So exhibitors are here, sponsors, which are the handbook ads, are here. Leaderboard, so this shows essentially who's engaging the most on the portal. So this is kind of just a fun little extra thing. And resources will also be really important. So there is a Q&A section. So these are all of the Q&As from different actual events. There's polls, the FAQs, our Twitter, safety. This will bring you to our safety resource. Our FAQs, this will also open a new one, sorry. And these, specifically the parallel event FAQs, will be really important for you all to review. We will put that in the chat, but they are also on our website. They were included in your acceptance emails. And also Hooba Guides is also a good resource. So one, they have just regular attendees, a guide for that. Speaker guide would be kind of a guide for parallel event organizers, FAQs, how to participate. So this is also a good resource if you need kind of a walkthrough or have some questions about the portal itself and how to navigate it. Lastly, we have My Stuff. So you will have a speaker hub if you are assigned to your event page. This will not show up if you are not assigned. But when you click that, it essentially just gives you the stats of your session, how many people have added it to their agenda, questions. You can see who's attending, who's answered your polls, questions that people have submitted. You can also promote your session directly from the portal, and it'll give you some little templates to share on social media and stuff. And I think, that's pretty much the portal. I will say right now also that we are going to put out tutorial videos. If you participated last year and remember, we have been doing these tutorial videos since we went virtual. And it's essentially a screen recording of me pretty much doing what I just did a little bit slower, and showing all of the portal capabilities and how to navigate. So we will be putting out those tutorial videos very soon. So if, you know, watching me go through this, you were like, oh my gosh, this is so much information, I'm so overwhelmed, we will have those tutorial videos that you can go back to and rewatch, and pause and slow down if you need to. So don't panic at this point. Okay, so I will now show you the event page, which I kind of showed you a little bit, but I'll get a little bit more into detail here. So this is what your event page will look like. Like I said before, if you have virtual event, all of them should look like this, because you will need to put your own event link into the portal as a virtual event organizer. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But it is really important that you do include an event link as a virtual parallel event organizer, or else people on the portal will not be able to join your event at all. So this is what the link will look like essentially. We have the speaker that you can send a message to, and you can view the profile. You'll have a description. You can also include, sorry if you could, everyone could just keep themselves muted, thanks. Yeah, so also a description that you can add, but also you can add video, which will show up at the top here. You can add like PDF handouts or resources or materials that you would like participants to have access to. And then you can also add polls here. So if you want participants to, if you want to collect some information from participants, you know, for example, a poll that we have on one of our sessions is, are you new to CSW? You know, stuff like that. There's a chat feature here where participants can chat with each other and yourself, and you can also engage in that. Community is these community boards over here. It shows up over here as well. And Q&A is where this is where participants can ask a specific question, and you or another participant can answer that question. So yeah, so that's a little overview of the event page. Like I said before, there are essentially two ways for you to get to your session as an organizer, as a parallel event organizer. You can go to the agenda and search for your session, search by title. So your event ID numbers that have been included in all of the communications we've sent will not be listed on your session page, but it's more of an internal reference number for us. So just don't try to search for your event ID number because it won't be there. But you can search by the title or the speaker name or the organization. And then also you can get there by going to My Stuff, Speaker tab, and then going to the session here. There is also the speaker guide available in the Speaker Hub. This is a Whova guide. Whova is the portal that we're using, the portal company. So that's also a good resource. So now I'll show you how you're gonna make changes and upload the information for your event. So like I said before, we have uploaded most of the virtual parallel events. So most of you should have gotten an email that says, actually, here, I have the email here. This is what it looks like. The subject is set up your parallel event page. Yeah, so it essentially just has a link to upload your information. And this is what that form will look like once it loads. Yeah. But first I will say that, yeah, so the virtual events have been mostly uploaded, but if you have not submitted your date and time into the form that we sent with your virtual parallel event acceptance email, we have not uploaded that onto the portal. We really need that date and time to be able to upload the session onto the portal. So make sure that you fill out that form if you haven't already. If you haven't got that acceptance email, or can't fill out the form or anything like that, please email us at parallelevents@ngocsw.org. And also that form for virtual events, y'all can pick whatever date and time you choose for your event. So you won't get a confirmation of your date and time because it's pretty much entirely up to you. So once you submit that form, you can consider your date and time confirmed with us. And once you get this email to set up your event page, that's further confirmation that we did get the form submission, and that date and time is uploaded on your event page on the portal. Yeah, okay. So, and as I said before, we are currently uploading the in-person parallel event sessions. So if you're hosting an in-person event, you will receive an email either today or tomorrow, this email to set up your event page. So this is what the form will look like. There's the speaker guide again up here that goes through how to set this up, how to fill out the form if you would like to check that out. But it will have your name and email already set. So this is your profile information. If you've already put together your profile on the portal, it will automatically come up here. But if you haven't, you can add this information if you'd like, social media info. And then here is your actual event information. So you will upload the title. Well, the title will actually already be there, but if you need to edit or change the title, you can do so here. You can add a description. You can also add links to this description, photos or images, tables. You can change the color of the text. You can add documents, PDFs, I think Word documents will work, PowerPoints, etc. And these will be available on your event page for participants to download. So if you have any, for example, like reports or materials that accompany your presentation or are about your organization, etc., this is a good place to put them. The live stream URL, this will be the link to your event. So if you are hosting a virtual parallel event, you have to add a link here. If you don't add a link, essentially no one on the portal will be able to join your event, which kind of defeats the whole point. So please make sure that you add that link if you're hosting a virtual event. If you're hosting an in-person event and are including a live stream or making it hybrid and adding a Zoom link or whatever, this will also be the place to add that. However, with in-person, it's obviously not required, but with virtual, please do include this link. Last year, we did have quite a few people who did not include that link, and then we got a lot of participants who were wanting to join the event and couldn't because there was no link to join. You can also add a video here, topics that you want people to discuss or open like a discussion topic. You can add some like links to your website, to publications, anything really here. And you can add your social media. So this will appear in your speaker profile. So this won't show up on the event page, but it'll show up on your personal profile when people look at your profile. You can also add a poll that you would like participants to answer. And lastly, this question here is a Whova question. So Whova, I guess, has a list of speakers that organizers can see and I guess pull from if they're looking for a speaker for an event or something. So if you would like to be added to that list, you can opt in. One thing about this form, and it does say in this email, this email is essentially the only way to get to this form to edit your event. And also this form is the only way to edit your event page. So make sure that you save this email or like bookmark this link or something so you can go back to this email to this link to edit your event information at any point. Also, as you can see, you can edit most of your information on the event page yourself. However, the only thing that you're not able to directly edit is the date and time of your session. So if you have an in-person parallel event, we cannot make any changes to your schedule. All of our in-person rooms are booked, so we don't really have any space to like switch people around or any other available slots if your time doesn't work. However, you can, if for whatever reason that slot really doesn't work or something comes up that you can't host your event at that time or date, you can always convert your event to a virtual event, choose whatever date and time works best for you, and you'll still be on the portal as a parallel event. You'll just be a virtual parallel event. And if you are hosting a virtual parallel event, you can change your date and time. So if you have filled out the form with the date and time, or if you haven't, just note that it doesn't necessarily have to be your final schedule. You can change it at some point if you need to, but you can't do it directly here. You just have to email us and we can make that change. Yeah, okay. So let's see what's next. And also, if you want to add more representatives to your event page, so more people who would be able to edit your event page, that is also the only thing that you can't do yourself. But again, just shoot us a quick email and we can easily add another representative to your page. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and I'm going to start sharing my screen back to the slides. So this portion of my little presentation will specifically be for those who are hosting a virtual parallel event. If you're hosting an in-person parallel event and are adding a hybrid aspect, a Zoom link or something like that, please do also listen to this section, but this is really, really important for specifically virtual parallel event organizers. So the first thing is that for virtual events, you must use your own virtual meeting platform. And what I mean by that is like Zoom, Google Meets, Microsoft Teams, whatever platform that you would like to use. There's no like required platforms that you can or cannot use. Whatever you have, whatever you like, you can pretty much use whatever, but we cannot provide that platform for you. So just some highlights of why this is good for y'all. So with having your own virtual platform, the meeting platform, your own Zoom link, etc., it really just means that you have complete control over that session. So you can do test runs, you can open the Zoom link, you know, as early as you need to you know, set up and get speakers set up and all of that. You can also send your link, you know, directly to your speakers or to your network so that people don't necessarily have to go onto the portal to access your event. Although we do encourage people to do so and check out the other events. And then you can also use all of the regular features that you'd be able to use in a regular Zoom or Google Meets, etc. meeting. So you will have access to the polls, the breakout rooms, the interpretation, you know, all of that. So essentially it's, yeah, like it's essentially going to be your actual session will be just like any other like Zoom or Google Meets, etc. Session that you would be hosting. And then the link to that session will be listed on your event page. So speaking of the link on your event page, you have two options. You can either put a registration link there, or you can put the direct link to your session there. However, we really, really highly encourage setting up a registration link. Like on Zoom, it has its own registration that you can set up in Zoom for the session. Or if the portal or the meeting platform that you're using doesn't have that capability, I would recommend using like Eventbrite or something like that to just put together a very simple registration page for two reasons. One, this is probably the most surefire way to limit Zoom bombing, because when you put the direct link, so that would be the link that goes right to the session, there's no registration or, you know, posting that publicly then gives, you know, random people on the internet access to directly join your event. So I highly recommend using that registration link for that reason. And that's also just kind of a good rule of thumb with virtual meetings, is not posting that direct link on social media or publicly, because you never really know who's going to join. But the other benefit of having a registration link instead of the direct link is also you can then have that registration list for yourself. So if you wanted to, you know, add registrants to your mailing list, say, or follow up with people, or just see who's registered for your event, having that registration link, I think, is very helpful. And lastly, because you will be using your own meeting platform and having your own sessions. We can't really provide like direct tech support for you in these sessions. Also, as you can imagine, there are 750 events happening, many at the same time, and there's only about 5 of us on the team. So also we just don't have the capacity to have someone there to support your sessions in real time. So I really, really highly recommend just getting really, really confident and comfortable with the platform that you're using. Do test runs beforehand. Go on, for example, like Zoom has lots of resources on how to do all of the things within Zoom. They also have customer support there. So just really making sure that you are really prepared and really comfortable with that platform, because unfortunately we won't be able to, there won't be like an NGO CSW person in your event to help you with that kind of stuff. So this slide are just some recommendations that we have for hosting a secure virtual event. Some things I've already mentioned, but we do want to make sure, and because we won't be able to be in every session assisting with these things, we really want to make sure that y'all have the information that you need and the resources that you need to make sure that your event is secure and that it's safe and that your participants are comfortable and are in that safe space. So the most secure version of an event, of a virtual event, is one where there's little to no participation or interaction with participants. So if you really, really want to be extra careful, or if your event is on a topic that might be controversial, or you might be worried about disruptors joining, this would be the way to go. So for example, you would like disable the chat or the Q&A so people could input in chat. If you're using Zoom, have a webinar instead of a meeting. A webinar is just less attendee participation, essentially. And then disable all the settings that allow people to unmute themselves or rename themselves or turn their video on or screen share, all of that. However, if you want people to participate in your meeting and you're not just doing like a webinar or like a presentation where you want people to engage, there are a lot of ways to still make sure that it's secure and that it's safe. So we recommend having one or a couple teammates kind of assigned to making sure that everything stays secure. So for example, right now, my interns are letting people in, making sure people stay unmuted, monitoring the chat to make sure there's no offensive chats or anything happening like that. So have someone manage those things, spotlight speakers so people aren't popping up on the screen. And then also removing any, or at least being prepared to remove any disruptors from your event if needed. So to limit Zoom bombing, like I mentioned before, highly recommend requiring registration rather than just publishing the direct link. Like I said, when you publish the direct link, it really opens it up to just like literally anyone from the internet being able to join your event. And often Zoom bombers will take advantage of those direct links that they can find to, put weird things in the chat or annotate or share their screen, just possibly being disruptive. Also, you can disable people's ability to rename themselves or screen share or unmute themselves so that people can't disrupt the presentation through those means. And then you also want to make sure that you're protecting your participants and that you're creating a safe space, in addition to creating a digital security space as well. And this goes for like minors or human rights defenders who might not want to be on screen, or just whatever the reason is. You want to make sure that participants are able to, one, remain anonymous if they'd like to. So making sure that people can have their video off, that they can rename themselves to anonymous or whatever. And you want to make sure that all of the participants know if you're recording or if you're taking photos. So with Zoom, it's nice and easy because it does announce to people when it is recording. But also if you wanted to take a screenshot or something, just let participants know that you're doing that beforehand to give them a chance to either turn their video off or hop off the call or whatever. Yes, okay, what do I have next? Okay, so now I'm gonna move on to in-person events and some information for that. I'm gonna have a sip of my drink first. I'm talking a lot, okay. So this is just some important information for in-person events. At this point, I will also flag that we do have an FAQs resource specifically for parallel event organizers. And this information, along with a lot of other good information, is in that resource. I know my team will be putting that in the chat. So please read through that as well and get familiar with all that information. But here's just some like highlights of important information for in-person events specifically. So I'll start with the time allotment. So all in-person events are 90 minutes. You will have 15 minutes to set up before your event start time and 15 minutes after the end time of your event to break down. I know this probably isn't ideal for a lot of you. It is a pretty short amount of time, but you just have to remember that we do have 350 in-person events, and they're all one after another. So you really just want to respect the sessions that are coming after you and make sure that you're out of the room at the time you're supposed to be out to allow the next session to set up. So that is a really strict deadline, and that is something that we will be enforcing. We will have people in the venues and assisting for these transitions, and it's something that we do take very seriously, because there's a lot of events happening right after the other, and we want to make sure that everything runs smoothly and that everyone is able to take up their full amount of time. Additionally, there's no taping or like attaching things to the walls or furniture. We are renting out all of these rooms, so we want to respect the rooms and respect the venues, and not damage anything. So you can bring in banners or posters or whatever, as long as they are standalone things, and just you can't tape them to the wall or use a thumbtack or anything like that. Yeah. For tech support, this is really, really important. Like I mentioned, we have 350 events. There's only a few of we will have a lot of volunteers as well, but there's only a few of us on the team, and we have limited resources. So we cannot provide tech equipment besides the equipment that's already in each room. And each room is equipped with microphones, a speaker system, a projector, and a screen. So all events, you will have that sound system and also the capability to, show presentations or videos or, Zoom people in. So there will be that projector and screen. However, to use that projector, you will need to bring your own laptop and your own adapter. So all projectors have an HDMI connection. So depending on what laptop you have, make sure that you have an adapter that will connect to HDMI to be able to use those projectors in the room. We are not able to provide these things. So just make sure that you bring them and you have them and you're comfortable with using that equipment. And like I said, we will have people, volunteers and staff in all of the venues available to assist during these transitions of setting up and breaking down. So if you do have any issues connecting to, the sound system or the projector or anything, we will be there on each floor right outside all of the rooms. So you can just flag one of us down and we can assist. And lastly, we have live streaming. So we do encourage in-person events to have some type of live stream or a hybrid or Zoom aspect to make the event accessible to people who are not in person. So that is most definitely an option for you. However, just a few things to note. All venues do have Wi-Fi, but because there are a lot of events happening at the same time, and there's going to be thousands of people coming in and out, we can't necessarily guarantee that there won't be, some Wi-Fi issues. We do, increase the bandwidth of the Wi-Fi for the 2 weeks, and usually it's fine, but just keeping in mind that just like any other technical or virtual session, there might be, some technical difficulties. Additionally, with live streaming stuff, you have to provide your own equipment for that. So if you have, cameras or anything to set up the live stream or the hybrid aspect, you do have to provide that on your own, and also keeping in mind that you will only have 15 minutes to set up for your whole event. So just make sure that the equipment and all the stuff that you're bringing is, reasonable to set up within 15 minutes. And that also goes for like interpretation or translation services. We most definitely encourage you to have those if you are able to. We unfortunately cannot provide those for parallel events. But again, just keeping in mind that 15-minute window. That is a strict 15-minute window. And here are just some rules to keep in mind. We do take these very seriously. Like I mentioned, we are renting these rooms and we, want to make sure that there's no damage. We want to respect the venues who are graciously allowing us to host our events here. And there's going to be a lot of people going in and out, a lot of stuff going on. So we just want to make sure everything goes smoothly and without any type of issues as much as possible. So some very important rules. There are no food or drinks besides water in any of the rooms. You cannot, provide refreshments or catering or anything like that. We have had in the past, spills and things like that where we've had to, replace carpeting and spend a lot of money, and there's a lot of damage. So this is a hard, definitely no food or drinks, no exceptions. Like I said before, no taping or attaching things to the walls or furniture, just generally being really conscientious of your surroundings to make sure not to damage anything or any equipment, and just respecting the furniture and equipment that's there. All event rooms will be set up in kind of like a panel format. So there'll be a table in the front with some chairs, a podium, and chairs lined up in rows. There are a couple of rooms where the chairs are not movable, but most will have chairs that you can move around. So you can definitely move them around. For example, if you wanted to have like circles or small groups or whatever, feel free, but you must put things back how you found them in those rows before you leave the room, so that the next people can come in and set up. There's no selling anything in any of the rooms. So you can't sell any like merchandise or, books or anything like that. You can absolutely like give away stuff, but you just can't be selling things. And lastly, like I said, we do take these rules really seriously. And if a parallel event organizer does not follow any of these rules, we do have the right to decline a in-person application for future events, for future forums, I should say. So definitely keep these rules in mind. And again, they are in the FAQs document, and we will be sending several emails and reminders to parallel event organizers leading up to the forum. So we'll also send all of this information again closer to the event to remind you all. And then, so more in-person information, COVID requirements. So we are requiring vaccinations or negative tests, and masks are not necessarily required, but they are highly, highly encouraged. Like I mentioned, there's going to be thousands of people going in and out of these venues, from all around the world. So just keep that in mind and be as safe as possible and respectful as possible. And we will have masks in all of the venues available if people would like one and they don't have one themselves. Yeah, so then the only other thing I have is a list of some more resources that will be very helpful. So we have general FAQs for just the forum in general. It is categorized in different topics. So there's a section for registration, et cetera, et cetera. We have an FAQ specifically for parallel event organizers. Please read through those carefully, read through them several times. It has a lot of information, and yeah. And we have a resource about safety and security, where it essentially goes over the information that I shared before about hosting a secure event, but it also has some information about safety and security as a participant as well. We will have those tutorial videos available within the next couple of weeks, and they will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. If you just search in YouTube NGO CSW New York, you'll find us. And we will, of course, also send those videos to our mailing list and on social media and stuff when they come out. And lastly, we have the virtual safety guidelines, which most of you are probably familiar with by now. You did have to read through them and agree to them to submit your application. And we've also been using these for several years. Essentially just goes over, it's essentially like a code of conduct, but make sure that you're familiar with those. And we also, as parallel event organizers, we also expect you all to enforce these safety guidelines and report to us any violations of them. And I believe that is it for my spiel and my presentation. So I will open it up to Q&A now. If you have questions and you would like to speak them to me, please raise your hand in Zoom in the reaction section, or you can also put them in the chat. We do have the team checking the chat as well. Yeah, I will add Hootie as well, who can probably answer some questions, because I think my voice needs a break for a second.
I was just going to say that I really am so grateful. I feel exhausted just listening to you. Can everybody just send lots of love towards Devin? That was amazing. And I appreciate everyone's patience too, but you guys can see how the same questions keep coming up, right? It kind of starts getting exhausting answering the same questions. So I really, really encourage you to read the FAQs. And I know this is too much, especially for people who are coming for the first time. So I am going to go over a couple of important things, especially for first timers. But before I do that, I want to answer some questions. Sandra, you go first. You're the first on my screen with your hands raised.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the introduction. I think it was a lot of information and really great. I learned a lot. I have two questions. One is about the space for in-person events, as it's between 80 and 200 people. How do I know how many people are for my event? Like in my case, I selected the big event. Is it then 200 or?
Yes, yes,
okay,
that's the largest.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you paid, I don't remember even what cost it was, 500 and something.
Yeah,
That was the larger room. The 400
Okay.
was the 80 to 100. And actually it's 80 to 100. But we really do want to tell you to not overcrowd. We count on each organizer to keep your room as like, don't try to reach the 200 for your own safety as well. We still have pandemic going on, right?
Yeah. I'm not really sure about the number, but I know where to look. So that answers my question. And the second question is about, I have also two virtual events and I got only one email with the link to put the informations in. Is it for all the three events with one link? Does that work?
I think they should be separate, and you should just email parallel events at ngocsw.org with the numbers of your applications and all of that business.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sandra. And I'll just jump in just to say that, yeah, if you do have any questions about specifically your event, like if you didn't receive an acceptance email, or something like that, please do email us at parallelevents@ngocsw.org, and we will be able to help you and look into it. We do have 750 events, so off the top of my head, I don't know the questions for specific or specific questions about your event. But definitely, for sure, please feel free to contact us at parallelevents@ngocsw.org at any time leading up to the forum with any questions or concerns.
Yes, knowing that it's only Devin and two interns answering all these emails. Okay, let's go to Caitlin McLaren.
Hi.
And you're done with your question, lower your hand, please. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I was just wondering what's the best way to promote an in-person event besides like on the virtual booth and forum?
I would say with your own networks.
Mhm.
We don't have an in-person event ahead of time. We used to have flyers at consultation day. Our consultation day is virtual. And I can tell you this. So let me just give you a visual of what's happening. This is what I wanted to say, and it answers this question. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. So in the church center, which is on 44th Street and First Avenue, there's 4, perhaps 5 rooms. Let's just say there's 4 meeting rooms, 2nd floor, 8th floor, 10th floor, and 11th floor, I think. So each of these rooms will switch every 90 minutes, starting at 8:30 a.m. First meeting is at 8:30 a.m. each of these rooms. When you're done at 10 o'clock, you have 15 minutes to get out of that room. And then the next shift is actually waiting outside of your room for you to get out. So the next meeting comes in and they have 15 minutes to settle in, plug in their computer with the HDMI and start their meeting exactly at 10:30. Then they have only 90 minutes to do their events, and then they have to get out and the next has to come in. Okay, so this is really important. And then the reason I say that, and then also we're very grateful, and I hope Victoria is still here. I want to thank Victoria for allowing us to have meetings at the Salvation Army, which is only on 52nd Street, only a few blocks away. There's 2 rooms there and the same thing there. You go in, you have 90 minutes, you have 15 minutes to empty the room so the next meeting comes in. And so what that means is that there are a lot of people in the buildings coming in and out of from different meetings. And then even if they didn't see you listed, they might just come in, like people just come in into different meetings. So expect complete strangers to walk into your meeting to learn about the organization. And that's one of the beauties of our forum, is that you just accidentally fall into a session and you're like blown away with what they're talking about and you make connections there. So hopefully that answered your question. I'm going to go to Eva.
Sorry, Hootie, can I just jump in? Because this is actually a section of my presentation that I actually missed, was promoting your events. So yeah, so we do have a couple of like official ways for you to promote your events and also your organizations. We have exhibit booths and handbook ads that are available to purchase. So, we're obviously not expecting you all to pay for, to promote your event and whatever, but if you would like to do so, absolutely, please consider that. I'll ask Ali maybe to put the link to those applications in the chat, and that has all the information you need to know about that. And also I'll just plug right now as we're talking about it that next week, in 1 week from today, we will be having a similar training for exhibitors and handbook ad sponsors. So if you are interested in applying for one of those, I would definitely recommend attending that training so you can hear all about it and also, ask questions to us, just like we're doing now. But yeah, there's also the community boards on the portal. Yeah, definitely be promoting within your networks. Yeah.
And the rooms are open to people to walk in off the street, which also is important for you to know, to have security, your own security, like your own volunteers by the door, first to make sure that you don't exceed the room limit. And also if there's any kind of, I don't even want to say it, altercation. Honestly, for the 10 years I've been here, with the thousands of events we've done, we've probably had 2 events that were disrupted, and we don't allow them to come and have events again. But disruptors can walk in to your room, especially if it's anti-abortion or pro-abortion and, hot topics like that. Be careful. and have somebody there. There is security in the building. We have guards and people who can come and help if anything gets out of hand. But be responsible for your own event and keep an eye out on anybody who seems to be disrupting.
Yeah, that is another point that I forgot to make too, is yeah, I pretty extensively went over the security within for virtual events, but definitely for in-person events. Yeah, the forum in general and all events are totally open to the public. There's no like registration or like badges or any qualifications like that to get into any of the forum venues. But there are like built-in security people at both of the venues, and like I said, we will have staff in all of these venues on every floor, checking in. So if you have any issues at all, definitely just run out, come find us, and we will help. And we'll bring in the security people from the building. Yeah. Okay, next question.
That's right.
Yeah.
Eva.
Yes. Thank you. Sorry. Excuse me. My name is Eva Hallström and I come from Sweden, and I have checked how can I put in the Zoom link into this. So I was trying while you were talking and I didn't manage. So I wonder if you can repeat that, because I want to put it in the parallel virtual event, the Zoom link.
Sure. So I can just share my screen real quick again.
Because
so this is the form that you'll be filling out to add any information to your event page.
No, I haven't got that one. How do you come to that?
So
to that website that you're showing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like I mentioned, we are still working on uploading all of these sessions. So many of you have gotten that email to access and start uploading information, but also many of you haven't. So once we do upload your session, you will receive that email.
And we have, sorry to interrupt. We have that on the board and onto the agenda as well. So the session is there, but then I don't know how to do.
Okay, so please email us and we can add you as a representative on the page to access it, because we only send it to the emails of those who sent in the application, or some of y'all have emailed us letting us know to add, certain people to your event. And I'll just take this to answer another question I saw in the chat about adding more representatives or organizers to your event page. That is one of the two things that you're not able to do yourself. So if you do need to add more people, please just shoot us an email and we can add them. With that being said, please make sure that the person who you want to add already has a profile on the portal and is logged in there.
So then I can, so then I cannot use the person that have done this application.
Correct.
Her email. Her email that she's got, she could send that to me, and that would be all right or not?
No, because then it would. So it's the email that people are getting are specific to them. So if they share the link with someone else and you click the link, it will open and show the profile for that other person. So please just email us and we'll add you to the event so you can access. I also just want to answer one other
Thank you.
email question from the chat real quick. So I did see some people saying that they haven't received a date or time for their event yet. Two things. If you are hosting an in-person event and you have not received a decision email or an acceptance email with your date and time, this only applies to in-person. Please email us at Parallel Events and we will resend that acceptance email. If you are hosting a virtual event, you can choose whatever date and time for your event that works for you. So in that acceptance email, and if you didn't get an acceptance email or a decision email at all, please reach out to us. Those acceptance emails went out many weeks ago now, so everyone should have that. But for virtual events, in that acceptance email, there is a link to a form to submit the date and time for your event. It is totally up to you. Doesn't really matter to us, whatever works for you. It can be at any time, you know, at 3 a.m. Eastern time. If that works for your time zone, it really doesn't matter to us. However, once you submit that date and time in the form, because it doesn't really matter to us and we aren't gonna like accept or deny your date and time, as long as it's within the confines of the forum dates, it works for us. So after you submit that form, consider your date and time confirmed. We will not send another email, saying that that is your date and time. However, we cannot upload your session without a date and time. So if you have not filled out that form with a date and time, your session has not been uploaded, and you need to do that as soon as possible so we can upload it, and then and we will upload it to whatever date and time you put in the form. Yes, yeah, okay. Next question. Kimberly.
Hi, Devin. Okay, so I have two questions in regards to the speakers. I understand that we can't have multiple speakers as long as we email you guys about it. I assume it's at the parallel events at NGOCSW.org. My question is in regards to the multiple speakers, will all of those speakers have equal editing access? And is there a limit in regards to the number of multiple speakers?
Yes, everyone will be able to have the same editing access. I don't believe there's a limit.
Okay.
Yeah, but if there was, I think it would be probably like 10 or something.
Okay.
But I don't think so.
And in regards to, like, let's say it's me and my coworker both being an editing speaker, but I'm mostly like the background, trying to just do the logistics of it, and I kind of want to be private. Is there a way to have a private speaker, to have a privacy setting in regards to the speaker?
I don't think so. However, so when you go in your profile on the forum, there is a checkbox at the very bottom, I believe, that asks if you'd like to be public to other attendees. I have not tried this. It hasn't really occurred to me, but I would assume that if you have your profile private so that no one can see you, that you could still be attached to your event page, but just not listed there. But I'd have to look into it. Don't take my word for that. Yeah, but I'd have to look into it. But maybe if you email us just to remind me, I can kind of mess around and see if that's an option.
Will do. Thank you.
Devin, we're getting a lot of questions about speaker label and
Yes.
organizer. Yeah, maybe you can
Yes,
go over
so
that.
yeah. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat. Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't think we can relabel that speakers as organizers. As you will probably notice, there are some like language and some terms on the Whova portal that are a little bit more like corporate or like private sector jargon that we can't change, unfortunately. Believe me, I've brought it up. But so they are at least aware of that, and that, you know, for, you know, people in our field like nonprofits and stuff like that, that language isn't really appropriate or the most relevant, but unfortunately there's some stuff that we just can't change. You can, so I see another question in the chat. Can we create our speaker profile using organization name instead of a person's profile? Definitely. So if you wanted to create a profile that's just like, for example, we actually have one that's just NGO CSW New York. So you can also definitely do that. And if you wanted to add that to your parallel event page, so it's not like a person, but it's just the organization, that is definitely an option, and I would recommend that. Yes. So next question, Julian. Julian, if you want to unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay, so maybe we'll move on to Doris, and Julian can figure out what's going on there. Doris, if you want to unmute.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, I have unmuted. Thank you very much. Mine, just to be quick, I just wanted to find out, when we did the application then, and there was a particular topic for discussion that we put in. So I wanted to find out if it would be possible for us to change our topic, and how do we go about that if we want to change it? Yes, still on the same issue, but just wanted to edit and resend. So I wanted to find out if that would be possible. And to also say that, secondly, that for some of the events, we might not have panelists. So to be more like, I'll use the word disseminating, maybe like a research or something that was done. So I wanted to find out also if we have things like projectors and all of that to use during the session. So those are my two questions. Thank you.
Okay, so the first question, I already forgot. Do you remember what her first question was?
Well, I wanted to address that whole the not needing a panelist discussion, changing of the chairs. All of that is really important to follow the rules and not move the chairs around. As I said earlier, you have 15 minutes to leave the room and 15 minutes for the other event to start. So if you're moving furniture around, there's no way we're going to keep having these events every 90 minutes, right? But if you don't have panelists and you're just going to have discussions, just sit around theater style, and you can stand as organizer, you can stand in front of your guests and just have a conversation. I don't think we're enforcing people to have panel discussions all the time. I actually prefer to be a little bit more creative on how you're having your events. You just can't move the furniture around, and I'm sorry about that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I wasn't really talking about moving the furniture. We're not going to move furnitures. I was just asking if definitely we'll have the projector, the screen,
Yes.
to use. Yeah.
Yes, you
so
can
that's
do
fantastic.
presentations. Yeah, you can
Okay.
do presentations on the screen.
Okay.
There's going to be a mic and a screen, and all you need is your own computer with your material. Any movies, PowerPoints, any presentation should be on your computer, and you need an HDMI cable. And I can't explain
Or
what that is, but
an HDMI adapter for
Adapter.
your laptop.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
all of the projectors will have an HDMI cable to connect to a laptop. Depending on what laptop you have, just make sure that you have an adapter, or if you don't need an adapter, you don't need one. But just make sure that you have what you need to make sure that you can plug in your laptop to an HDMI cable.
Okay. The
Yeah,
first question,
Yes.
question, I was asking about editing the topic that was submitted.
oh yeah,
Is that
yes.
possible?
So definitely, like, you can't just change the entire event, because you did submit an application and we did accept the application based on what your event is about. So as long as it's addressing the same general topic, that's fine, and you will be able to edit the title and your description in that form that you get to upload information to the portal. And I'll also just emphasize again, because I'm seeing some questions about it in the chat, we are currently still uploading sessions onto the portal. So many of you have received an email with a link to upload your event page information, but many of you have not. If you have submitted if you are hosting a virtual event and you've submitted the form with your date and time, you should have received an email. If you haven't, please do email us. And if you haven't, just make sure that you did submit that form with the date and time. Because like I said, we just literally can't upload a session without the date and time. If you are hosting a in-person event and you have not received that email yet, just wait for a couple of days. You should receive it by the end of the day tomorrow. So if next week rolls around and you still haven't received it, then definitely reach out to us and we can resend it and see what's going on. Yeah.
all right. I'm noticing it's already 2:30, but let's extend just 10 minutes
Yes,
because
yeah.
Devin also needs to rest and we have another meeting as well. So let's just try to go through this as fast as possible. Was Julian already taken
Yeah.
care of?
No, I'm here. So thank you for allowing me a second. So we are hosting an in-person event at the Salvation Army during the second week at 8 a.m. in the morning or 8:30 in the morning. So we're kind of struggling with that, and maybe we might want to hear from you what you think. The second week, lots of the CSOs have gone home, also having an event that early in the morning. What does that mean for our mobilization, and what are some of the tips?
I'll jump right into that. This
Thank you.
question is age old. We've heard this so many years. I can tell you, yes, it's a little bit quieter the second week. And I actually can tell you that parallel events are more interesting the second week because we're calmer, right? People attending, more people do attend second week. I can assure you that. It might not be, let's say, instead of 100 people, you might get 70 people, but I really encourage you not to stress too much about the numbers. It's the quality of the discussion that you're going to have, right? So of course, it's important to have people recognize your event, but I really stress, I can't stress enough to say that don't worry too much about how many people are showing up. Honestly, as much as we think we're going to have a huge turnout, I am concerned about visa situation, health situation. We are also prepared to go fully virtual if there's another surge. I can tell you that. We've said this several times in our meetings. So even though you have your own in-person parallel event, if we are shut down for any reason, all of those events are going to go on the platform. but we are preparing for in-person, and we are hoping to pull this off. But I cannot encourage you enough not to worry too much about the numbers. We don't know how many people are going to show up for this forum. Let's move on to Emma Edwards. I hope Julie and I reassured you with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Emma.
Hi, thank you. I just have a really quick question, and I put it in the chat as well, but how long will the platform be open after CSW wraps? So I'm asking this just in case we're putting up reports or we want to see some of the comments on the questions we post. How long will we be able to go back and look at them?
So that's a great question. It will be open for 3 months after the end date of the forum. So that would be June 17th. So that's a great question. Like, for example, if you want to post the recording of your event on your event page, that is highly recommended. I'm sure there will be some people who wanted to go to your event but couldn't make it, or are only seeing it after it's passed and can watch the recording. So you will be able to add, just like in the form, there's a section for adding a video. So that would be the place to add the video. And then for 3 months after the forum ends, that will be available for people to go and still check out and explore and watch recordings and stuff. It's a great question.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Nikiru.
Good evening from Nigeria. My question really is about our event. We have event on the 15th for 8:30, and we would like to change the time to perhaps afternoon.
Please do not bring up your own personal event questions. Email parallel events. And I'm sorry to be so abrupt on this, because I do want to get to all the questions. We have said this many times. Any changes will create a domino effect that is almost impossible. Believe me, 8:30 events get visitors as well, get participants as well. We have done this for so many years. And I'm sorry that we can't really accommodate everybody's date and time. It really is just one, as we get them, we just, or, place them on the calendar. I'm sorry, but you can email parallel events and you're going to get the same answer, but don't mention anything specific about your event that you need to change. Those need to go into the parallel events email.
Yeah,
Anna.
just to reiterate one more time. Yeah, like, because all of the room slots are full, there's literally no place to move any events. If you needed to, if you can't, or want to move your slot. So unfortunately, yeah, we really can't accommodate any schedule changes for in-person events. However, virtual events, you can have it at any date, time that you'd like. And if you are planning to host an in-person event, but you really can't do the time slot that was assigned to you, or something comes up or whatever it is, there will always be the opportunity to switch to a virtual event if you really need to. Anna, go ahead.
Can't hear you.
Yeah. I thought I was clear on this, but some comments last week in some of the meetings made it confusing for me. So could you please clarify exactly when they say, hope you've registered, if you're an NGO ECOSOC, if you're just going for CSW, if you're not even registered and you can walk in. So could you clarify exactly what deadlines are and where we should be registered? Because now I see something about Indigo, and so I think it's gotten to be a little bit confusing.
Devin, do you need the rest, or I'll let you explain?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, so this is always a topic of confusion, no matter how much we try and explain. And the UN system is confusing. And also, yeah, our role, and our relationship with the UN is also often confusing for people. So just to very briefly explain. So we are NGO CSW. We are a NGO. We are not an official part of the UN system or an official part of the UN CSW. The UN CSW is the official UN commission that happens within the UN headquarters. So the UN CSW is pretty much limited to ECOSOC accredited NGOs. So registration for the UN CSW, which closes tomorrow, so note that, is only open to ECOSOC accredited organizations. Now, the NGO CSW Forum essentially exists because of that limitation, and we want NGOs, individuals, whoever, to be able to engage in the CSW process, still come and learn and all of that without having these kind of strict qualifications and all that bureaucracy. So we are totally a civil society space. Ooh. And we are not officially connected with the UN CSW process or registration process. So the registration process for the UN CSW is through Indico. If you are having issues with Indico, which I believe that their system is a little bit glitchy right now just because of the huge numbers of people who are registering. And especially since the deadline is tomorrow, there's a lot of people registering right now. But if you have any issues with that, unfortunately, we're not really able to help at all because we don't have access to that process, but you can reach out to UN Women at csw@unwomen.org. And Ali or Michaela, if you could just throw that into chat. They usually get back within 24 to 48 hours and they can help you out with that. For the NGO CSW Forum, the registration and the virtual portal is on Whova. And if someone could just put the registration link for that in the chat as well. So registration, you do have to register for the forum to access the virtual portal, which has the full schedule of events. However, registration isn't necessarily required for you to like walk into any of the venues and attend parallel events. However, you'll probably want to register and access the portal so you can see the schedule and see what events are happening. But you don't have to like have any official qualifications, badge. You don't have to show proof of registration or anything to attend any parallel events. They are open to the public. Yeah, but registration essentially just gets you onto the virtual portal so you can engage that way and see the full schedule of events. So I hope that answered, cleared up some confusion between the two processes. And as Hootie mentioned, I think in the chat, definitely check out our website and the FAQs that do go through the differences between the two. Yeah.
In short, you don't have to be ECOSOC accredited to attend NGO CSW.
But in other words, you'll have two simultaneous agenda, the UN agenda and the CSW.
That's
If you're
the
an
whole idea.
ECOSOC
That's the
accredited.
whole idea. That's the high level meeting, and ours is the civil society.
Yes.
And
So
we're really
there are
running out of time. Please check our website.
Yeah, but I
explained.
just want to make this clear that there are the two different schedules, one for UN CSW and one for NGO CSW. The UN CSW schedule and program of work and side events are located on UN Women's website. They are not on our website. Our website and the information on our website is for the NGO CSW Forum. So for any information or like official information about the UN CSW and its program, go to UN Women's website.
Sheila.
Yes, very quickly, this affects everyone. I did go onto my site and see that my event is there. But so you don't get a million emails and I don't either. By when can we expect that our information, our concept note and so on will be uploaded?
You upload it yourself. So
I don't see a button there to upload.
That's because you have to go through that email.
Oh,
So-
I did not receive that email. Okay. got
Okay,
it.
so email us at parallelevents@ngocsw.org and we can resend that email to you.
Okay, thank
Mhm.
you.
Winifred.
Sorry for coming up with this question slightly outside of the topic of parallel events, but will the exhibitors section be able to have live events?
That's a great question. And in short, the answer is yes. We will be having a exhibitor training in a week. We'll go over all of those details and stuff. And we also have some FAQs. But short answer is yes.
Yep. Sarah, final question.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarah Al-Mashni. I am Chief Officer for Nigeria and Africa, UNESCO NGO. I wanted to ask, my question is, since the COVID-19, are we only going to have the events inside the United Nations, or are we going to have Zoom?
Okay. Go ahead.
So just
Because I got the email from you. It's inside the UN and it's outside UN, and lately I have been on Zoom.
So just to clarify, all of the NGO CSW Forum events, including parallel events, none of them happen inside the UN headquarters. They happen, there's two buildings where they happen. One is right across the street from the UN and one is a couple blocks away. So they're still in the same neighborhood.
So you are still, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You are still doing the same thing outside the UN. You are not having inside the UN.
Correct. Any
I
events that happen inside the UN are part of the official UN CSW program.
Okay, because usually I go to the events inside the UN, but I will attend your events outside the UN. Thank you.
Yep. Let's take the other Sarah's question, and that'll be the last question, and then we have to hop off. Sarah Ngela Ngasi, go ahead. Oh, looks like she's having some audio issues. So yeah, okay, so we will close then. As we mentioned, please feel free to contact us at parallelevents@ngocsw.org with any questions or concerns. Yeah, and also we will be sending the recording with the slides and all of the information that we shared to our mailing list, to the registrants for this session. And please check out and review very carefully the FAQs for parallel event organizers, which is on our website, but you also receive them with your acceptance emails. And that has pretty much all of the information that I went over today there. So that's a really good reference document and resource for y'all. So yeah, if you're interested in hosting an exhibit booth or a handbook ad, please do join us next week, same time, same place, for a training on that. And we will also have one other training event just for general participants of the forum on the virtual portal and just participating. And that will happen on February 17th, I believe.
I think it's 16, the Thursday.
16th. We will definitely send plenty of information about that. So keep an eye out for that too. And we'll see you all at the forum.
Thanks, Devin. Thanks, everyone.
Would you be able to share the chat?
Thank you.